Hey everybody. When the video about our worm farm came out, I promised I would answer some questions on a Q&A. So that's what this is. And out here now, there's one of our night crawlers right now.
Reconnecting.
And I should say I know that we're going to have some connection issues. I don't get very good cell signal out at my house, and we can't get Wi-Fi right here because of the big metal. You know, I understand if it's not great, but I promised I would do this, so if you happen to have a question, try to sneak it in and maybe we'll get it. So there were a couple main questions, or I guess two main questions if I can remember them both. One was about why we were using night crawlers. So the answer for that is there's two main types of composting worms out there. The two commercially sold ones. I'm not a commercial worm farmer. The red wiggler that is kind of like the gold standard, if you will, for composting worms. And then over there at Uncle Farm and many others, we found this European crawler. And the real differences between them are that the red wiggler is known for composting just tons and tons of material, whereas the night crawler composts it a little more slowly, still more than maybe your garden variety earthworm, but not anywhere near as much as the red wiggler. The line of thinking that I had was that with the red wiggler, I was worried I was going to run into a problem trying to keep up with it. I was kind of thinking forward based on our experience of all the other kind of animals and things that we've had in the past, and I thought, well, if I get what amounts to the most voracious worm, and can I really keep up with that? Can I supply it with the amount of food it's going to want? And I decided that no, I wasn't going to be able to do it, or at least I didn't want to try. So the other side of that then is with the night crawlers, they get big enough that you can use them as more of a fish bait than you could red. So to me, there was like getting an extra use out of these worms. Said on the packaging, they could double their population every 90 days. So I'm guessing we'd probably get like 2 cycles of their climate. So thinking about just how many worms we could have, I want to spread those worms around the property, but at some point we're like, how do we do with these worms? To go to the lake today, let's grab a few of our own worms and go fishing. So it was kind of like adding an additional use to it. And because they are not, the European night crawlers are not going to be as voracious of eaters as the red wigglers, I don't have to worry so much about keeping up with them. I need to keep an eye on this thing, but I don't need to be out here every single day adding something to it for fear that my worms are going to run out of food. So I mean, I just grab some of this out for the bees. About a week or so ago, I used a weed whacker out in front of the bees, and you know, I can just come in here occasionally and add in a bit more bedding material and just keep things going. I'm here now, but a lot of this in and call it a day. So that was probably the main question: is why did you go with why didn't you go with red wigglers? And that's the answer. That's why we went with these guys. So we don't have to keep up with how much food red wigglers eat, and so we had a bigger worm that we could have more uses out of in the future. All right. Also over on the website, I had some questions, and even here on the YouTube channel, asking about different ways to do this. There are a dozen different ways to try to keep worms. One question today was asking about, couldn't you just add the worms to an existing compost pile and just harvest the worms and the castings from that whenever you're harvesting In fact, the only thing that you lose doing that is that leachate, which I kept saying we were going to milk. I don't know if you caught that or not, but I couldn't remember that word leachate, and the first thing that came to my mind was leche, which I believe is saying we would get the here. If you were just doing it in a regular compost pile, obviously that stuff's just going to drain down into the fertilizer to be able to water your plants with. So, you know, if it's the best
reconnecting again.
When you start thinking about that, that the worms can have an output of the castings and the leachate that we can then cycle back over into the garden. So it's adding node in that network and connecting it in as many ways as possible. I know we've been Jennifer, have you seen anybody connect?
The buffering's really bad.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Wheatree. I'm sorry for. I was really hoping to had a question I could answer it right here, but you know we couldn't even use the good microphone we normally use for technology reasons. So we'll go ahead and call it quits here. I just wanted to answer those questions. If you have anything about the worm farm that you want to ask questions about, then leave them down below. And I will respond to your comments in type so we don't. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.